Hello guys, in this video we'll query and display data from a database with PHP. Here we'll make use of the table games we created in a previous video. So I recommend you to watch the video, create, export and import a database with PHpMyAdmin if it is not yet the case. Here we use the table games stored in the database that we'll call sales to display some data. Let's do it. In the previous videos, we created a table called games and we imported that table in a database that we called sales. Since here the PDO connects back to the database called test, we'll first connect to the database sales. So now we are connected to the database sales. We can query information from the database. Let us query the names of all the games from the table games. So to do that, let us write here. The BDD is the object links to the database, and from that object we query the values of the table attribute names from the table games. Buckets is now a variable that contains a bunch of values returned by the database. It's like a bin containing stuff in this order. So to retrieve a value from the variable bucket, we need to use the function fetch as follows. Now variable data contains a value of the bucket. So fetch just fetches one value of the bucket and store it into data. But it is just one value. So to collect all the values that was queried from this request, we can use a loop. Let us use a while loop to do that. Okay, so I will just write a while loop here. So that means that as the fetch continues to fetch values from the bucket, meaning that as every time the fetch functions sees a value from the bucket, the body of this while loop should be displayed. So here let us make a little instruction to display. So that's echo variable data name, and let us make each name displayed on a line. And here we'll add a little command that I will explain later on. Okay, let us review this code. We connected the PDO to the database name sales. So we created a variable bucket that will contain the result from this query. We queried the name of all the games from the table games, and here in the variable data we store each values that was stored in the bucket. So every time bucket has something to give to the fetch function, this instruction will be compiled. So this this command closes the cursor analyzing the request. The function close cursor should be called every time you end a request to avoid problems with the following request. So let us display this page. I saved my code. I saved this code as database.php. So here I will load this page, and as you can see, all the games name from my table I displayed. As a note, you can give your own names to this variable. Bucket is the name I gave to have the meaning of a bucket collecting things. Data has the meaning of the data I'm collecting. So you can write whatever name you want, but as the fetch function collects value from the bucket, data becomes an array taking several attributes. So here the data will specify the index as name of the array data. So we'll echo the names of all the games from my table. Here we have retrieved data from a database and also displayed it with a simple instruction. Query and display is just as simple as that. So now let us try a little more complicated code. We will try to write a more complex code that will use all the information from the table. So we first have to query all the data from the database. So here we select all from games. So while data equals bucket fetch, I will not echo. Here I will write my text. But since to write a text you have to use HTML, I will first close the PHP here, then open my HTML. So my text, let us say okay, here we go. Strong games or game, that will be the game name. PHP, I will use the PHP command here to echo. So echo data. Okay, let us use this and copy that, since we will make a good use of this command later on in the code. Okay, data, here I will display the name of the game. Okay, so here I'll display the name of the game. I move next line. Now the owner of this game is, paste here, write owner, and sells it at, here make the price France. So I move to the next line. Here what all the information, the game, runs on A. Now I precise the platform. And can hold up 2, number of players, I move to the next line. What can I write now? Yes, the owner left some comments on the game. And let us insert the comments in italics. So let us put here comments. Then my paragraph ends, and that's all for the HTML. So to proceed with this PHP code, I'll just have to open another PHP environment, and that's all. So let's try to display this text. As you can see, I have the description for all the games in my table games. So here, game, the name of the game, the owner of this game is Florent and sells it at 4 francs. The game runs on a NES and can hold up to 1 player. Florent left some comments on Super Mario Bros. And that comment is an anthology game. That's done for all the games. And that's all for the query and display. You can make use of all the SQL you know to sort, to order, and to manage the data of your database with PHP. But never forget, don't embed an HTML code in a PHP code. I hope you like this video. If that's the case, subscribe. And never forget, PHP is fun.